Hey, what's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Honest Conversations with Mo, the Mo Love Podcast. And hope everybody's having an incredible Independence Day weekend, 4th of July holiday weekend. And I guess get right into this episode. And kind of what I've been thinking of late, just in the sense of how when we're going, throughout our everyday lives, how fear has the potential to strike on us. And I mean, in this sense of where when we don't choose to control the fear and we see how that's contributing to our overall growth, our overall being, to kind of who we are and who we're becoming, because we're not fighting against that fear. We're not seeking to, create this sense of this kind of push pull with fear, and it having the potential to strike all on us, because fear is meant to nurture growth. And I think when we choose to kind of confront our fears and confront the things we're kind of afraid of, that it makes us better versions of ourselves. And that's kind of what strikes that awe on us, because we see far more than what we're capable of, even though we choose to kind of hide from that fear. And I think sometimes how we kind of hide from fear is kind of how we mask it. And of course, kind of want to ask you guys, how do you mask your own fears? Because how I look at how I mask my fears for myself is, sometimes it can be in the form of, self-doubt, depreciating humor. It could be, a number of things of when we think of how we choose to mask fear, because we can never see fear on another person. We can only choose to kind of understand and see it, but we never know another person's fear. And, we can get a sense of it, I guess, from, a bit of sadness, a bit of, anxiousness, which we'll kind of delve into a bit later. But yeah, we never see how one unmasks the fear, masks their fear. So it becomes prevalent to, are we, capable of understanding ourselves and how we're masking our fears for ourselves? Because when, you take off that mask, you allow that all to happen, that thing that you didn't think was possible to kind of occur. And you see the steps of growth slowly but surely, kind of matriculating and kind of happening for you. And of course, with our masks are cover-ups because of these very things, in the sense of our traumas and our triggers. And when looking at our traumas and our triggers, it chooses us to kind of close in and kind of, give in to past version of ourselves that we've been working towards moving beyond. And I think when we become aware of those traumas and those triggers, in terms of that sense of fear of reverting back to a version of ourselves that we no longer want to be, a version of ourselves that we feel we shouldn't be, a version of ourselves that doesn't really make sense to us at all and doesn't feel natural for us to be. So I think when you kind of take off that mask, and when you understand those traumas and those triggers that are part of that fear, that are a driving factor in creating that kind of that hold on us, in terms of how, we're not allowing ourselves to grow. And in that, in our traumas and triggers, it's something we all kind of naturally become a part of in these fear communities of those that are kind of misrepresenting how they can absolve our fears. And in that, I think in a previous episode, I kind of talked about, how we can be co-leaders at times, but then we can also kind of be tyrants to others too, and tyrants in the sense of how we choose to control and manipulate one's fear, because I think the increasingly noticeable part about fear is that there's a sense of power to fear. And when you choose to kind of wield more power for fear, and you're choosing to kind of own it and kind of be a part of that fear, where you feel that now it's a ever evolving cycle of, more power, to kind of subvert this fear. And that's the same thing with kind of tyrancies, and tyrants overall. Those who are kind of misusing and misrepresenting their statuses and their positions of powers to hold others' fears against them, hold it over their heads, to wield control over other people. And we kind of, do that within ourselves too, where we allow a certain fear to wield power over us. And we feel that if we can absolve ourselves through materialistic means, or through just any source that contributes to that power, and that's, any overall power source, to allow that fear to continue to generate. So I think when, we look past these fear communities, what we notice is within these fear communities is a lot of, anxiety. And I guess that moves on to kind of the next topic I kind of want to get into, and that's anxiety versus rest, in the sense of anxiety is when we allow fear to create a home, create a place of comfort in our lives, and create that sense of control, because anxiety is when fear has, created this attachment to us, to ourselves, to our overall being, to our essence. And that's what kind of withholds us from understanding how fear can bring awe and inspire and strike awe in us, because that anxiousness, that attachment that we've allowed us to get comfortable within that fear, it has kind of pierced and penetrated us from even recognizing who we are, as a whole, as ourselves, as our overall beings. It's almost interesting when we sit with anxiety and choose to let go of control, where rest is that choosing to let go of control, because rest is allowing fear to coexist in our lives, and not to be something that creates, that creates this, anxiousness, this anxious feelings, these anxious emotions that kind of holds us back, but rather allows us to sit with it and allows us to grow from it. And I think that's where that true all can be kind of struck, and you can kind of learn who you really are and who you're really becoming when you allow fear to kind of just coexist within your life and not choose to fight against it or choose to give into it at the same time as well. Um, and that's kind of, just kind of what I was thinking about a little bit. And then, of course, I got to provide y'all some updates. It's been a while. The WNBA season has been incredible. Angel Reese, Chicago Bar, AR, Reese's Pieces in the house. I think she just tied Candace Parker's WNBA record of 12 consecutive double-doubles. So the all-time record, by the way. She continues to do her thing. She had a 27 in 10 game, 27 10 plus game last game. And if she continues to fine tune her offensive game, because rebounding, hustle, effort is, core traits of her game, but as she continues to refine that offensive end, she's kind of getting her 3-point shot now going a little bit. She's doing her thing. Shout out to Angel Reese, my pick for Rookie of the Year, but that'll be a discussion for another time. And of course, the other potential candidate for Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark, just had her first triple-double. Continues to hoop, continues to figure out her game, figure out her place in the W, as she's, leading the surging Indiana Fever. So continue to monitor that on that end. The Sparks are dealing with a number of injury issues. Of course, Kim Brink out for the rest of the season. Lexi Brown out for the foreseeable future. Kia Jackson, it's kind of been, a bit off balance, where, I guess noticing, her being the focal point of the offense kind of moving forward has kind of been interesting. De'Erica continues to do her thing. But Rukia, young rookie, so she's going to continue to figure it out. My pick was right. The Lynx did beat the New York Liberty for the Commissioner's Cup. And we got WNBA All-Star game coming around the corner. WNBA All-Stars versus Team USA. So it's going to be interesting. It's been a fun WNBA season so far. Connecticut Suns continue to hoop. Dejanay Carrington, Brianna Jones, as I mentioned, Minnesota Lynx, Nafisa Collier. And plenty, Kayla McBride, Kalia Cop. I was pretty sure their names. But anyways, it continues to be a fun WNBA season, especially as they near the Olympic break. Of course, USA 2024 Paris Olympics coming up. Team USA, both men's and women's basketball. It's going to be fun. And speaking of men's basketball, this has been an insane NBA offseason. Just overall, a swirl of moves. Joel Embiid getting, after him and Paul George's guest appearances on the NBA Finals Countdown, he got his guy, jokingly mentioning winning a guy like PG. He got PG 8. Apparently, he's going to be wearing the number 8. Paul George going to the Philadelphia 76ers. Shout out to Maxey getting his bag. I want to say it was a 5-year, 212. No, 212 was Paul George. I want to say 202 was Maxey. It's like under 200 mil for Maxey. And it's been interesting seeing, throughout the offseason. The Sacramento Kings just got DeMar DeRozan, the signing trade. 3 years, 87 million. I want to say that was the final number. I'll have to double check. I'll have to fact check on that deal. Harrison Barnes goes to the Spurs. Chris Duarte and 2 second-round picks go to the Chicago Bulls. So I think the Bulls are going full rebuild. They traded Caruso earlier this offseason for Josh Giddey, 1-for-1 swap. No picks involved. And Isaiah Joe, Wiggins resigned. They got Isaiah Hartenstein. OKC's looking good. They're making a bevy of moves to kind of contend. It'll be interesting as they kind of fine tune and kind of reshape their roster and kind of finalize things. But it looks good. I don't think it really takes them over the top. It does show that they are making a push to contend. So it is going to be interesting. And speaking of the Spurs getting Harrison Barnes, Wemby's now got CP3 to drop passes off to him next season. I want to say it was a 1-year, $11 million deal. And he's got a guy to finally facilitate him the ball and get him those easy baskets. CP is going to be a great facilitator for him. And I think it's interesting what kind of the Spurs are doing, getting Stephon Castle in the draft, and surrounding him with, Wemby with a bunch of young vets. So guys going to grow with him, but guys kind of show him and pave, the way for, what Wemby can kind of learn moving forward. And guys, that have, had years in the league. So I do like what San Antonio is kind of doing. They're kind of building over there in the Wemby years, in the early Wemby years. They're kind of taking the right approach in. Not surprised, of course. It is the San Antonio Spurs. Pop is still there. Pop still has his thumbprint all over that place. So not surprised by that, and kind of the sole focus on ensuring that within probably the next 2 to 3 years, the Spurs will be contending for multiple championships, kind of moving forward. But not surprised at all. Of course, as you guys know, gotta talk about my Lakers before we get into the rest of the moves around the league. Well, there hasn't really been many moves by the Lakers at all before signing his $103.333 $3 million less than the actual max for his 2 years, 103 max deal. Braun resigned. He, mentioned he would take a potential pay cut, which of course I didn't believe, but would take a $20 million pay cut to allow for Rob Pelinka to, make some moves and kind of improve the roster. And no moves were made. Names were thrown around like Klay Thompson, who ended up with the Dallas Mavericks. DeMar DeRozan was a late kind of mention. He ends up, of course, as I mentioned, going to the Kings. Isaiah Hartenstein, he goes to OKC. Then I think we also said potentially James Harden. I think James Harden re-signed to the Clippers. Yeah, all the people that LeBron said he would take a pay cut for. We did not sign, and we did not sign nobody. We re-signed Max Christie to a 4-year, I say it was like $32 million deal. Yeah. So nice little bag for Max to continue to grow and develop him as a young guy. I still believe in him. And he finally gets minutes and feel like he got the right amount of minutes in Darvin Ham's system, or really any minutes at all, to really grow and really kind of get through those growing pains. So he obviously deal with that this season. So can't really get caught up in those, but as he kind of fine tunes the the rough edges and refines his game. He's gonna be a solid player, solid young core player. And speaking of young core players, we got more additions. Don't Connect 4 out of Tennessee with the 17th pick, and Bronny James. Bronny James is a Los Angeles Laker. Being him and Bron being the first father son duo to ever play together in the league. At the same time, it's still insane that LeBron is playing with his son, one, and then two, he is still in the league, averaging 25, 7, and 7. Like, it's freaking insane. But all the ridicule on the nepotism talk on Bronny not being deserving of this pickup or this pick overall has been kind of interesting, and kind of the discourse around that has been kind of fun to kind of watch and listen to. And in my opinion, I feel Bronny did deserve it. I mean, it was going to be inevitable that he was going to be a Laker. LeBron said he wanted to play with his son, and the Lakers had a pick in the second round. Yes, Rich Paul did say, hey, don't draft Bronny. Teams listened, and he ended up a Laker, and he's going to play with his son. So I'm not surprised by it. If Bronny wouldn't have got drafted, he still would have been a Laker. This was going to happen. He came out into the draft. We all knew this was bound to kind of happen. So the public outrage is kind of insane. And then the overall talks on nepotism, and it's been kind of prevalent in the history of the NBA, sports, the world. So it's been kind of insane to kind of think of that. But yeah, Bronny's gonna be fine. He's a solid defender, great, incredible athlete. He's got to continue to trust his shot, trust in his skill set. Yeah, he's gonna be completely fine. He's young, he's on a guaranteed deal, and continue to grow within our Lakers system. So I'm not concerned at all. The discourse is gonna continue to follow him, and of course, he's not new to this. Deal with it at Sierra Canyon. So I'm completely fine with Bronny. I mean, where it's the Lakers. It's fun. We're a show. We're entertainment. So we're the NBA's number one shop, number one stop for all your drama. So we gonna bring the drama, and we're gonna get back to bringing them championships too soon enough. Yeah, and then the rest of kind of the offseason moves, Orlando continue to get better. Went after Klay Thompson, missed out on Klay. Who did Orlando sign? They signed somebody. They re-signed Franz. Dang, they re-signed Jonathan Isaacs too, but I can't remember who they signed. Oh, the Villanova Knicks. The Villanova Knicks are official now. Mikal Bridges is a Knick. And any other major moves around the league that I can think of? DeJounte Murray's a Pelican. Dang, it's been a wild all season. It's still not over. Sheesh. I'm trying to think. And that's all I can think of for now. Maybe Trae Young is a Laker. Maybe he won't be. Who the Lakers end up getting? I don't know. Mikal Bridges, no. Miles Bridges re-signed with the Hornets. I want Gary Trent Jr. that's still available. I want him on the Lakers. Buddy Hield went to the Warriors. Dang, Klay Thompson being the Mav is crazy. Who did the Mavs also get? That was a solid pickup. Najee Marshall was a great pickup. And Jonathan Goodwin? Was it Jonathan Goodwin? Can't remember who else they picked up. It was supposed to be like a Josh Green replacement. Because Najee's the Derek Jones Jr. replacement. Clay's the Tim Hardaway Jr. replacement. Who's the Josh Green replacement? I can't remember it. I want to say it was Goodwin. Something named Goodwin. And then On to NFL offseason. Schedule release came out a a few while back. Training camp's about to come up soon, so it's right around the corner. Football's back, man. Hard Knocks, I want to say, is the New York Giants is the focal point. Is it the Giants this year? No, the Lions? I think it is the Giants. I can't remember who's the focal point this year for Hard Knocks. And Falcons, we looking good. Michael Penix still looking good. Kirk Cousins still recovering. But he's still, throwing some nice passes to Draco and Cal Pitts. We're talking about how we're about to utilize Bijan Robinson. Defense continues to solidify itself. We don't have an edge rusher, but our overall our division don't really have perennial edge rushers. We know we won't be, but I guess what's his name? Zach Harrison and AK. I don't know I don't want to butcher his name, but they'd be nice. Braylon Trice, the rookie. Who's the one? Roro. Roro? I'm ready to see him. But yeah, training camp right around the corner. NFL's coming soon enough. College basketball rolling around the corner. College football around the corner. Dang, NBA's over with. Sheesh. But luckily, I got the W. I got the Aces. I got the Sparks. I got the Connecticut Sun. I got Seattle Storm. I got the New York Liberty. I got the Minnesota Lynx. Yeah. I got the Sparks. Who else am I missing there? Really, my main team in the W. I said Storm. Faith is not really my team, but I support Aaliyah, so Aaliyah Boston. Oh, the Mystics. Aaliyah Edwards out there. Who else? Oh, Phoenix. Phoenix. Forgetting Mercury. Pretty much. I don't know. I don't know the Atlanta Dream. Oh, Tina Charles is on the Dream. Yeah. Tina's on the Dream. Who else? But anyways, we'll get into this, top four, kind of favorite album. I don't know if I've had a favorite album. I just kind of been listening to, my consistent playlists, my various different playlists of like different sounds. I don't have a specific song that kind of stands out. So kind of just, a lot of different music. Favorite show, just finished the current season of the Miss Pat show. Fire as always. Been watching The Boys. Finished the season of Shy this year, a few weeks ago. Yeah, just been kind of watching my comfort shows and continue, watch those. What do I currently have going on? Continue to, work, and all, continue to, kind of allow that fear to kind of strike all of me in terms of, everything that's next in terms of, personally and professionally. And been, kind of getting more in the gym. I kind of spoke on, kind of wanting to get, that focus on, that physical growth, and, my relationship, kind of with my body. And then what am I looking forward to? Always just, going to different events, just always learning. I may or may not plan a trip. We'll see. Do want to, take some trips. Look forward to those as always. And then, overall, just, work experiences, personal and professional, experiences, and just getting better, day by day. And yeah, so as always, thank you all for listening. Listening to me ramble as always. So appreciate y'all for just, taking the time to listen. And yeah, until next time. Peace.